This base starts with the classic circle footprint. The important thing in a starter is having the right things inside to actually get you started. Sleeping bags, I like 3 furnaces and around this amount of storage, but feel free to adapt this to your playstyle. We'll start with 6 triangle foundations. The first thing you'll want to do is wall everything in except for a front door. Relative to the front door, we'll want to separate a triangle for the TC like this. You should be able to place a wall here after the TC is down. Once you have this, we can add 2 wall frames starting from the front. This window can be added now or later, but it helps line stuff up, so I'll build it now. 2 double doors go on the front, and then you can start placing the items in here as you make progression. The first expansion we'll make on the base will be these 5 triangle foundations in this order. We can wall in around the entire side since the base will have a second floor entrance here. A double door on the top and ceiling across the rest of this. A single door goes in here, and unless you find an early triangle ladder hatch, a furnace is the best way to get up. Now we can get out of the base, but we have to add some twig to be able to get back in. Keep this twig, it is not permanent. Wood is also an option here if you really need to do it, but it's going to have to be destroyed later. This new area will be the main loot NTC area with the tier 3 and most valuable items in the final build. This is generally what I would have down here at this point. The idea here is we'll upgrade to garage doors as we can and reuse these sheet metal doors in other places throughout the base. If you have the metal, it is ideal to have an exposed roof 1 grade higher than the rest of the starter so they can't splash the entire top. The first bit of honeycomb will go around the bottom. This synergizes well with the sheet metal roof as well. This is what the footprint will now look like. Next we'll put on the second floor. First the entrance, which goes on this side. A full wall here, and we'll duplicate this angle on the other side of the base. With those in place, we want to actually have access to the rest of the triangles around the edge. The doors go in, and we'll want this wall here to form the airlock. We'll need a way up, so if you stand here, it is 4 triangles in this direction. Up top, this is where the hatch will go. The rest of the ceiling can be solid. At this point, most people would use a twig jump up for roof access. I'd like to also put a door at the top here if it's possible. Now to avoid not completely ruining the build, we'll need 2 extra walls up here as well. We want the door to face in towards the middle of the base so we have the most cover when we come out of the top door. The front airlock keeps people out as far as possible. This inside space is great for trio, we'll come back to this soon, and the outside of the base now looks like this. We'll work on the inside in a bit, but next we're going to add the 2 gatehouses and external TCs. I've built one on this side already, and here I'll show you how to build it on this side. 3 total TCs for a trio of a base this size is enough in my opinion for anti-grief. First we add the wide gap spacing with these 3 squares, a triangle cap with a build back that leads to this square. The distance including this square is 6, and then the triangles on the end. You can also put some type of detachable TC here if that's how you like to build, but this design here is more on the simple side in that regard. These will get stronger over time with the TC here and different doors and upgrades increasing the raid cost as we progress through the wipe. For the gatehouses, we'll want one square to be inside the compound, and the second one has the actual gatehouse peaks and doors leading out. We'll use the standard triangle on each side. You can section off the turrets on the bottom here if you want, but in this build, I like to leave the bottom open. The rest is standard. Next, we're going to build this here. This, in combination with the two gatehouses and some wood compound walls, will form our inner compound. Once again, I have one side built and I'll show you how to build it on the other. Off the honeycomb, we can use this twig to get these two triangles in this orientation. Add a frame here to stop decay and repeat on the other piece of triangle. Two windows on the outside and it will look like this. Add frames on each side and then a half and a low wall pancake on top. These will become those peaks under the roof, but for now we don't need them, we are just going for height. We can use two sheet metal double doors to keep people out for now, but in the final build there is another section of compound here. Embrasures can go on these windows when you can afford it. And the final part will be to add a compound wall in between each of these open areas. You could use stone here if you want to. I'm just using wood because I think it looks cooler. When placing these walls, you don't have to be too careful. You just want to keep it as centered as possible and have no gaps on either side. It's kind of hard to demonstrate this in a video in a linear fashion, but the inside of the base should also be progressing at the same time as this compound. So let's go inside to see what we should be adding over time. Now I'm going to show you this in its finished form so that you have an overall goal, but you can also progress and upgrade at your own pace. There is high qual above all of the key areas, and the metal is honeycomb and can arguably even be left stone. Making our way down, you can see a garage door in this spot with a hatch to get up and down through. An armored door meets us at the bottom. In here we have added two triangle loot rooms with some lockers, two beds and a tier 3. Garage doors have also been placed in every wall frame for security and for more mobility down here. Electric furnaces are optional, but a cool addition to these loot rooms in my opinion. The second floor here will be next, and I can't think of a better time to show you what I like to put here. So if we go outside, I can come back in, and when I open this door, it will be done. You can see all of the back walls are metal now, and that is their final grade in the build. In here, there will also be garage doors throughout the hallways, and we've added two triangle loot rooms here. You can add 2 more electric furnaces here, which would total 6 if you put 4 on the bottom floor level. Here we have the hatch going up to the roof, some sleeping bags on the floor, and this loot room here with the repair table. If we come up to the roof, we will be adding a 3rd floor up here soon, and the defense floor will be above that floor. At some point, you will also want to upgrade all of the bottom floor's honeycomb to metal to make it as secure as it needs to be. Next, we'll focus on finishing our compound, which will include barricades of course, but the main focus of this compound is using these specific peak downs. We'll also add in this large furnace area at the end. The way these peak downs work is you will come out of the 2 doors up here when this floor is finished, and that will give you access to all of these angles in and outside of the compound. So once again, we'll go through the other side and we'll build it here for demonstration. I find that placing these 2 triangles first helps a lot with the mobility to build the rest of it. Next, we'll want to add in barricades so that people cannot simply ladder up and get into your compound for free. You can do this from the ground, and there is a trick you can use by adding 2 extra twig triangles on each side, which will allow you to place the barricade on the one triangle, and if you get rid of the 2 twig triangles, it will still stay up there. One thing I like to add when it becomes a possibility is triangle ladder hatches in these frames. This makes moving throughout this section much more fluid and easier overall. Next, we'll add the barricades on top over the gatehouses, which we can also use a similar trick with the twig to place them better. The next thing to do will be adding in the large furnace areas. You can add the furnace first and try to wall it in after, but I find it easier for me to put the walls up first. The next thing we'll do is add the 3rd floor and the wide gaps, and the base is pretty much going to be done after that. On the 3rd floor, we can add doors next to each of the floor frames with the hatches. Everything else can get walled in around the edge. We'll want to upgrade this room, and if we count from this hatch on the floor 2 out, the next hatch goes above it. The rest of the ceiling is solid. You can see what it looks like now. Next will be the wide gaps in the defense floor. I've built one here and we'll build the other side in the video. We'll upgrade the foundation to metal and we'll want 3 frames going all the way up. This floor can be metal, but stone also works here. Build this up to the same height as the main base, and a square floor goes in the middle and a triangle on each end like this. Once it looks like this, we can add in the rest of the overall footprint for the defense floor. When the additions are added, then we can place window frames around the entire edge. It should look like this when you are done. Next, using this hatch as a guide, add in the following frames. These are needed for some sectioning off of the defense floor, but also for stability to build the critical roof pieces. This is the overall layout, pretty simple honestly, and the final part before we seal it in is the 2 ways up, which will be hatches on these triangles here. Next we can fill in the rest of the top. We can put the hatches in, and I like to use vertical embrasures in all of the windows. To section off the middle, we'll use a garage door on each side with the shop front next to it for some extra vision. Next, on each of the squares, we add in these ramps to complete the defense floor. The roof is really simple, so I don't think it needs a piece-by-piece explanation, but the turrets can be placed like shown here, or you can adjust them to your liking. The windmills are 2 levels higher than the roof, but their height is up to you as well. The searchlights here are just for the video, so you can leave them out too. Next, what we'll want to do is go down through the base level by level, and I'll show you what I like to add in, but you can change this as well. On this level, I've added in lockers for fast defense rekits, and the batteries can be placed here as well. All these garage doors should be added in the same spots to make it harder to raid through this. 1 floor down and nothing has really changed other than this is what it should look like in its final state. The first floor looks like this in its final state. A lot of this is preference. For example, some groups may like more large boxes on the floor instead of the beds, but all this is up to you. Next, let's look around the inside of the compound because I've added in stuff that I believe should be copied very close to what I show. I section off fence gates because in combination with these turrets around the compound, it becomes a true pain to raid in here. I personally like to add in lockers out here, but I wouldn't put top tier kits in them, it's too vulnerable overall. We can also use this as a jump up to our main door and around the inner compound. Boxes all around the compound serve as drop boxes, prim loot storage, and help with some angles depending on what engagement you choose to take. One addition you can make here is adding a bed like this. If they happen to be in your gatehouse or right outside of it, you can use it to kind of fight them away. Not a game-changing angle, but it's kind of cool to be honest. And that is pretty much the base. If you have any feedback, you can hit me up in the Discord or on Twitch where I stream pretty much every day. Both links in the description below. See ya!